Hi, and welcome to the Surf Academy UK podcast. I'm your host, Ross James. This podcast is to help surfers of all levels up their game through coaching and training. All our guests have extensive experience in the industry and can offer great advice and guidance. So whether you're a beginner, weekend warrior, or just love to be in the water, follow us on this journey and don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay stoked and stay healthy. There we go. So welcome to the Surf Academy UK podcast. I'm Ross James and we're here with the legendary Corky Carroll. So Corky, how are you doing?
All good here. Stoked to be with you.
I think I'm going to win on the stoke levels here, mate. Learning to surf, knowing like who you are, it's absolutely amazing to be chatting with you. So tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm a real nice guy, really good looking. My friends like me.
Perfect.
I'm just another old surf dude.
Oh, it's all good. All good. So, how long have you been surfing now? Like, when did you start?
I've been surfing 70 years. I
Wow.
rode my first wave in 1955. Wood boards. My first board weighed more than I did. I weighed 44 and it weighed 47 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I'm in Mexico.
Oh,
So,
nice.
well, I should be in centimeters and kilos, but I'd still think in pounds.
Yeah. No,
Not the
that's
money, not the money kind.
no. So, how you say it was 45 pounds or 47 pounds? How big was that? Was that like a 10 foot or like?
No, it was 8 foot seven. It was solid balsa wood, and they weighed a lot. Not as much as the
Hmm.
redwood ones. They were like 100, 120 pounds. I rode one of those too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember I listened to Nat Young's audiobook,
Yeah.
Nat's Nat and That's That, and really worthwhile listen. And to hear about how the boards have changed from sort of the 50s and early 60s and how
Oh
that,
yeah.
I mean, you were obviously part of that. You helped design a mini Mal, like you really had something to do with the progression of the surfboard. So can you tell me a little bit what it was like sort of growing up back then surfing, because obviously it was a million miles from what it is now.
Well, back when I started, there weren't that many people surfing. It was, you almost knew everybody. Not quite, but if you went to another town to go surfing, there was always somebody you could stay with,
Yeah.
It's like you kind of like it was just smaller and surfed a lot alone. Growing up, it couldn't find anybody else to go out, and so I had to go out by myself. Drove my mom crazy. I'd always have to tell her I was going down the street to surf with Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going out with Steve. I'd go down and surf in front of Steve's house, but Steve wasn't out.
Nah.
But my mom did. My mom didn't know it. I was
Oh,
lucky our house was right on the beach, so I could paddle right out and surf every day. It was pretty cool.
oh, that's incredible. So you grew up in Huntington, is that right?
I grew up in a little place called Surfside, just north of Huntington. There's a little beach colony with houses that were right on the beach. And it was the 1950s, and it was a real small town back then. And then kind of everything changed when the movie Gidget came out. All of a sudden, surfing went from a little, kind of bohemian beatnik kind of thing, to this big raging fad where everybody was surfing or pretending to surf. There were guys who would drive around with boards in their car, to pick up chicks. Chicks dug surfers. It was cool.
Nice. Yeah, it is. I mean, I've always
There was
looked at
this,
all of that and thought that looks like one of the best times to ever surf.
oh yeah, there was this myth, about surfers, just surfed all day and partied all night, got the hot chicks, and I bought into that. Yeah, that sounds good. I want to do that.
Oh, who
I'll be
wouldn't?
one of those guys.
Oh, so okay. I mean, when would you say you started going pro? Like, when did surfing become that little, only a touch more serious?
Well, in the early 1960s, there started being lots of surf contests, and surfboard builders were like opening up every week. It got to be a, you know, pretty big deal. And I remember when I was young, my dad said, what are you going to be?" And I go, "A surfer." He goes, "Well, how are you going to afford that?" I go, "I don't know, but I'm going to do it." And when I was about 15, um, Hobie Alter put me on salary to surf. And little backstory to that was I was working in the factory uh, mowing down blanks for the shapers because the blanks in those days were big, thick things and stringers sticking out both sides. So I would work between like midnight and dawn when nobody was in there, and I would take a planer and mow down the tops and bottoms. So I get the blank to the about the thickness for the shapers. And I was in there one night and mowing away, and I always wore glasses to keep the chips from going in my eyes. But I should have had goggles, but I just had glasses. And one day my glasses started slipping down on my nose, and I went to push them back up. It stuck the planer into my arm, and like blood goes squirting everywhere. And I'm like, ah! And I threw the planer and I hit on the corner, left it on, ran out of the shaping room, and I was 15, but I had a car. And I jumped into my car and I raced. I was going to the hospital, but I had an apartment at the time with a guy named Rodney Sumpter, who you might remember he was an English guy. And I stopped to get him to take me to the hospital, but he had a chick. And he's like, you know, he goes, "Oh, you'll be okay." And he wrapped a towel around my arm. And I passed out in the hallway. And I woke up in the morning with the towel stuck to my arm, kind of dizzy and sick, and I had to get in the bathtub to soak the towel off. And then I went to the hospital, and I had to tape it up. It was too late to put stitches in, but I put a big hole in my arm. But I left the shaping room open, the lights on, the music playing, the planer going, and blood everywhere. And the shapers came in and went, "Oh my God, somebody's killed Corky." And nobody could find me. I wasn't answering the phone, way before cell phones,
Yeah.
you know, and they thought I'd been abducted or killed or something. Didn't surprise them if you knew me then. So anyway, I went in later in the afternoon and talked to Hobie, and Hobie decided rather than have me work with power tools and sharp objects, would just put me on salary to surf. He figured I was more valuable to him in the
Yeah.
water. So my job was to surf. And our factory manager at the time goes, "Oh my God, I guess this makes you the first professional surfer."
Nice.
And so I got put on salary, and then I got some endorsements. So that's sort of how the door opened to professional surfing.
Well, it's one way into it.
Really glorious, glorious story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly not your typical route to pro surfing. But hey, if it works, it works. Uh,
Hey,
so how long did you compete professionally as a surfer then?
I was in a surf contest. My first one was in 1959, which was the U.S. Championship in Huntington Beach. It was a West Coast Championship, and it became the U.S. Championship a couple years later. And my last, I guess you'd call it pro contest, would have been the World Championship in '72.
Okay.
And I kind of retired from surfing full time. I
Nice.
did go to a few contests after that. Um, Later on, a few longboard contests and a couple just for fun, not serious.
Okay. So I know training now is a lot different. surfing is a lot more demanding on the body. So you have the guys, for example, Italo Ferreira is massive one for getting on the weights. Now I appreciate back in the 60s, weightlifting wasn't a massive thing anyway. But did you do did you do
We're to
anything?
lift chicks.
Yeah, that's it. Um, just carrying some of the surfboards, I suppose, was a workout. But did you even contemplate anything back then? Yoga, or was there
I
anything that
ate
really
I ate yogurt.
yoga? That's as close to yoga as it got, is it?
Well, kind of my training was I would surf about 8 to 10 hours every day.
Oh wow.
It, that was about it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I suppose
No, I
athletes
didn't do
wasn't
any
really a thing then.
any other training because I just surfed so much.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I was always skinny. It's like I couldn't put on any weight. I was just, I could eat a gallon ice cream and not gain an ounce.
Nice. Yeah, that would be the ticket. So what did you so from sort of 72 onwards, what did you do? I know you had your injury, didn't you? When did that take place?
Um, well, surfing and right about that time was kind of like going into a dark period, especially in the US. And I was, making my living through surfing, and it kind of peaked out in the late 60s, and it was getting less every year. And there was a lot of dissatisfaction amongst the surfers with the way the competition thing was going and the people that were running it. And after the 72 World Championship kind of brought it to a head because it just was done all wrong. There was an area where they could hold the competition, and at the north end of the area, the surf was good. The south end of the area, it was flat. And they held it in the north area up until the semifinals. And then they moved it into the south area because it was in the city of San Diego. And literally, the semifinals and finals were held in surf 6 inches.
Ooh.
I mean, if to call it a foot would have been given it the benefit of the doubt. And it was just sad. And kind of when I got over with, I went, I think I'm done with this. And I had been sort of getting into doing music the previous couple of years. And I also had my whole life I had skied, but was never able to spend a whole season in the mountains because I surfed. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move up to the mountains for a while and play music.
Nice.
So I retired from surfing and I moved to Idaho, Sun Valley, Idaho. Started playing music in bars and skiing all day. And it kind of like cleaned my mind from the surfing deal for a few years. And then I moved back to the beach and played music, and I went to work for Surfer Magazine and kind of got my groove back.
Nice. I suppose, yeah, if you spent so long sort of committing yourself to surfing, then you do need that break, don't you? I mean, I've surfed for just over 20 years, and around the time of COVID, which played a factor in the amount of time I was out the water, uh,
Yeah.
a couple of years
Where
before
where
that.
where where do you surf mostly?
So up until this Christmas, I've been down in Cornwall. So
Uh-huh.
round the
I like
corner,
Cork.
yeah,
I
it's
like
nice.
Cornwall.
Around
Yeah.
the corner from Fistral, that was sort of my main peak for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Like in Newquay. But then last year I was a bit further up the coast towards Padstow, slightly quieter. But to try and find quiet spots in Cornwall now, it's getting hard. So
I I I like the trifle and Cornish clotted cream.
oh, so good.
That's like one of the real taste treats of the world.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. You can. It's a shame it can't really be exported that well. Otherwise, I think you can make a killing over in the States.
Oh God, yeah.
Pasties and clotted cream and a few ciders.
So good.
So yeah, and like I say, I mean, I got a dog towards the end of 2018. Uh, I was trying to sort out a previous business, and I just went through a little bit of a dark patch, and surfing wasn't doing it for me at the time. It was so busy. Um, I sort of took a few months out, and then that few months ended up being a year. And then I think after about 18 months, I jumped in for one surf. I picked up a longboard off a guy called Adam Griffiths. And then I think I had 2 or 3 surfs on it. Really fun board, but my head just wasn't in it. And I didn't surf again for another good year. Um,
Hi.
so I think, yeah, I had pretty much 3 years out of the water. Uh, and then I moved back to the family house, just sort of got bored. As I'm inland, I miss the sea, I miss just being around it. And was like, right, blow it, heading back down. Anyone that knows me knows that I boomeranged a lot the last few years between sort of Southampton and Cornwall, which isn't a lot for you guys in the States. It's like a 4-hour drive, but for the English, it's a solid drive. Um, wouldn't have even left the state, I don't imagine, out in the States. Yeah, 4 hours. Oh, yeah, that's just the next town over. But yeah, so managed to get back into it. And I think having that time away, it makes you realize what you missed. And you're like,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not going to put all this pressure on myself to perform in the water all the time. Like, you don't get that sort of mental pressure that you give yourself in the water. So I think taking that away for a couple of years was a really good shout. So obviously you went to the mountains, you come back. What did you do from then?
Well, I was surfing all the time, and I worked at Surfer Magazine for 10 years. Um, um, I was a tennis pro for 10 years. Um, I started managing a surf shop. I was doing music, a little bit of art, and then I moved to Mexico about 2002. That opportunity to uh, buy a lot and build a house on the beach, and I started a surf business where people would come and stay with me for a week at our house, and we'd provide them with food and drinks and surfing boards. I coached them if they wanted it, and they hung out at our house for a week, and it was a pretty good deal. We were, pretty full for. I did it for 20 years, and my wife did the cooking, and it was bitching. And then I kind of had some health issues. Uh, well, first my back got really bad. I hurt my back uh, first a pipeline when I was young, and then I re-injured it in the late 90s on Kauai surfing Honolulu on a giant day. I just got hit in the head with a big lip and herniated a disc, and it sort of grew into spinal stenosis. And rather than explain that, it's kind of like where your spinal cord shrinks and pinches on the canal shrinks and pinches on your spinal cord, and it hurts.
Mm,
And it got real bad about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And so I had to go. I was riding mid-sized boards mostly, 7 foot to 8 foot. I kind of fell into that range when I started getting older and couldn't ride 6 foot boards anymore. They kind of went up. So I was in the like riding like a 710. And then I just couldn't, the pain, I couldn't get up. So I had to go to a stand-up paddleboard. And I was very reluctant because I I didn't really dig those. I was one of those guys going, "Oh man, here comes the sweepers." You know? But after a couple of months, I started getting kind of the hang of it, God, I really liked it. I go, God, it's not what you think. The
Mm.
paddle becomes like a fin. And you stick it in the water and you like pivot around and wow, wow. And there, I would say without a doubt that my paddleboard is much better than any longboard I ever rode. Faster, more powerful, even rode the nose better.
Nice.
I was riding those and I was pretty happy. I would have rather been on my seven foot board, but
Mm.
I couldn't. So I was happy on the paddleboard. But then I had some heart issues and it got so I was out of breath all the time. And I had a pacemaker put in and some operations. Nothing really seemed to help a whole lot. And I would get so out of breath, I'd get out of the water and I'd just be like sucking air on the beach. And I have a watch that I could do my heart rate. And one day I got out and I was like almost passing out. My heart rate went to 205,
Ooh,
which is really, really high.
yeah.
And I was literally laying on the sand, sucking air. And this like girl walks up and goes, "Are you okay?" And I went, "No." And she goes, "Oh, okay," and walked off.
Oh, no.
Left me like, I told my
Jeez.
heart doctor this, and he goes, "Well, you could keep surfing, but one of these days you're not going to come in. So if you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
keep surfing, just accept the fact that that's the way you're going to die, and it won't be long. So
Wow.
whatever you want." So I go, "Well, I guess I shouldn't surf that much." I was I went down to one wave a day. I paddle out, try to get a good wave and ride it all the way to the beach, then lay there and suck air. My wife wasn't too pleased with this.
No. No, I can't imagine she was.
No, and I so I just sort of had to stop surfing, and we sold the house on the beach and we moved into Ixtapa, a little smaller house. And I was trying to figure out now what am I going to do for a living? It's like I can't go back to teaching tennis. You know, I can't
Mm.
surf. And I'd been doing paintings, and we had them on the wall in our house, and they they weren't serious. They were just kind of cartoony, frogs and waves and palm trees. And every now and then somebody would buy one. And so my wife goes, "Well, why don't you get more serious about the painting? People like your paintings." And I went, "I make a living selling my paintings." And she goes, "Well, just give it a shot." So I started posting the paintings on my Facebook pages and get painting a lot, and people started buying them. So I got serious about it and started painting every day. And I met a really good artist in California, an Italian guy named Jerome Gastaldi, that kind of took me under his wing and helped me out. And I just sort of the last few years, I paint every day and I post the paintings, and I'm actually making a living selling the paintings.
Nice.
So I be an artist. It is the cool thing is it's I paint waves, I paint surf scenes, palm trees, um, and it's keeping my stoke alive. 'Cause I get up in the morning, it's just like I get up and go, okay, how's the surf? I want to surf, but now I get up in the morning, I'm ready to paint. I grab grab a brush, and I got a
Yeah.
stack of canvases, and what am I going to
Nice.
paint today? And so I paint and I sell the art for a living.
That's
It's pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, that's all that matters, isn't it?
I have a great Mexican wife, and she cooks good. And
Yeah. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask was if you could go back and do anything differently across your life, what would it be? I mean, to be honest, like I know obviously there's a few areas of your life that sucks a little bit, the injury and blah blah blah, but by the sounds of it, it's panned out pretty good. Like it's not the worst ending, is it? Mexico, lovely Mexican wife that can cook, and
well,
you're doing something you enjoy.
I, I get that question sometimes, and I always think, well, if I changed anything, maybe I wouldn't be right here, right now, doing what I'm doing. I'm pretty happy being right here, right now, doing what I'm doing. So I'm not sure I really should have
Hmm.
changed anything. There are a few like financial things where I blew it. You know, I could have been better with money. Um, but probably if I had to change anything, maybe I just would have not mouthed off so many times when I was a kid because I was kind of famous for like mouthing off. And I thought I was funny, but some other people didn't.
No.
Hey, if you can't take a joke, but so I probably offended some people that wish I hadn't. So if I had to change anything, maybe I just would have been not tried to be funny so much and
That's right. It's character building. That's their problem if they can't take it well.
been
Um,
better with money.
yeah. So,
But
okay, what if you could pick any surfboard that you've like had yourself or shaped? Was there a particular favorite?
favorite board?
Yeah.
It's funny. I write a column for the newspaper in California. I email it in, and I just did this yesterday. Yeah, but I had probably four or five favorite boards in my whole life. Uh, one was an 8 foot harbor board. He was the first one to sponsor me, give me a free board, and I won my first surf contest in 1962 on this 8 foot board he made me, and I that was one of my favorite boards. I call them magic boards.
Yeah.
And then there was a board when we were going short. Um, the first couple of years of short boards, they were kind of like just shorter long boards. They were still kind of round and long. And the first kind of more contemporary model that I had was called the Deadly Flying Glove. And it was named after a Beatles Yellow Submarine movie.
Nice.
It was
Yeah.
the Deadly Flying Glove. It was a love the glove. And so it was more of a kind of a speed shape down rail. Um, and my first Deadly Flying Glove, I got him Terry Martin shaped it. Was magic. And then there was a Mike Hinson made me a 710 semi gun in, I don't know, it was like 1969, somewhere around there, 70, and it was incredible. I rode pipeline on that all the time, and it was my best pipeline board ever. Probably the best photo of me ever taken is this bottom turn of pipeline on that 710.
Nice.
And Mickey Munoz made me a 7 foot kind of three fin board about, I don't know, 70, 71, something like that. It was purple and I called it Perp. That was one of my favorites. Then my last favorite funny thing was here in Mexico. I was in the water one day and I actually had a brand new board I was trying, and a guy that I knew was in the water and he had a brand new board. Well, it wasn't brand new, but he had had it for a while. And he goes, "I got this board and it's something you might like, but I'm having a hard time with it. You want to try it and tell me what you think?" I go, "Okay." So I handed him my new board and I got on his board. From the first wave, that board just was my board. It just was bitching. God, it just power turned. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm going, "Ooh, I like this." And it was an L41. It was made in Santa Cruz, and I didn't know anything about the company, who made it, the shape, or any. And so I didn't give it back to him for a couple of hours.
Oh, no.
Finally, he goes, I want to go in. Can I have my board back? And I go, "Okay, you're going to be here tomorrow?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's trade again tomorrow." So we traded again. It's like 3 days. He really liked my board. And so finally goes, "Well, I'm going to go home tomorrow." And he goes, "I really like your board better than mine." And I go, "I like your board better than mine." So we traded.
Nice. I actually
And
had a
that was my last prone surfboard. I rode that board for, I don't know, a few years before I had to go to the stand up.
yeah.
I called it the blue board of happiness. It was blue.
Amazing.
Fantastic board.
Yeah. I had one of those a few years back down in Newquay. I went surfing with the guy I was living with in the hostel. And we both had these two boards, very similar, made by the same shaper, Luke Hart, who I've actually got coming on to one of these podcasts soon. And went out, it was just dumping on the shore break at Towan. That's all Towan seems to do. And I don't know. It was shorter than my other board, but I think just because of the shape of the nose, I'm quite a broad guy. And I had that little bit of pressure so that when I needed to, I could lean in and just get into the wave that little bit earlier compared to the other board. And again, I got out. I actually got absolutely annihilated on my last wave. I took off, grabbed the rail. I was never, ever making it out. And Alex, who was on the beach, turned around and was like, mate, that was incredible. There's all this sand and the wave behind you. It's like, I know, it's down the back of my wetsuit. But we had such a good time on each other's boards. We ended up just doing a straight swap, fins and all. That was that. I was like, yeah, perfect. And I think I had that board for about 3 years, and
All
it
right.
was definitely the go-to. So we're just coming towards the end, but I want to know: have you got any advice for just general life advice, whether that be for surfers or just any pearls of wisdom that you picked up in your lifetime?
Well, yes. Realize that when you're in the water, that it's a pretty special deal, and you really should appreciate it. There's, it's crowded these days, and it gets hostile out there. People forget that, they're out there to have a good time and take it way too serious. I did a lot of times, I admit there was like crowded days. I'd be like, oh man, you know, muggles. But the deal is it's surfing's bitching, and you should really appreciate it and just not, you know, not get pissed off if somebody, drops in on you or something, just ride it behind them or whatever, have fun. Do go behinds,
Yeah.
you know. Or you might, say it would really be nice if you got the fuck out of the way, but
This is
but
where
you
we
don't have
are.
to you don't have to like punch them.
No. Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's
I
gonna
say this to all
happen.
you guys, all these guys that punched me over the years. Quit doing that.
Yeah, and that's the trouble with the way surfing's going now, is it's so busy.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like if you've been starved of swell for a few weeks and it's a Saturday and every man, woman, and a dog's out. Um, Sometimes you actually do see the dogs on the paddle boards. But yeah, cool. Well, Corky, look, it's been absolutely amazing. Um, Absolute honor to have a chat with you. And yeah, hopefully we can maybe get you in again. Have you, because I want to try and help you in your artwork, have you got a website that people can get hold of you to have a look at your art?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and that's the way to get a hold of me. I I sell my paintings direct. I ship everywhere. I've shipped a few to England, and I would just ship some to Austria, Denmark, Australia. Um,
Nice.
so, yeah, you just get a hold of me directly on Facebook and buy one, and I ship it to you. And I would love to do it.
Easy. Well, what I'll do is I'll leave a
Yeah.
link.
Here, I got one right here. Just finished. You could have this one. I could ship it to you. Good deal.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'll leave a link to your Facebook then in the description, and then yeah, people can get hold of you. Oh, yeah,
I do have a website though. I should have mentioned this. We have a surf company called BlueMangoSurf.com, and we make boards and T-shirts and hats and puzzles and all kinds of cool stuff. And there is a gallery with some of my paintings on there. We don't sell them there. I sell them myself. but
Yeah,
they're there. So you can go to www.bluemangosurf.com. But if you want to
perfect.
get hold of me direct, go to my Facebook page.
Well, what I'll do then, mate, is I'll pop them both in the description. People can have a look. They can get hold of you directly, and they can check out the Blue Mango site.
Directly.
Amazing. Well, look, again, absolute pleasure, Corky. And yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime.
Anytime.
Perfect. Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you.
There we go.
Hi, I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you're interested in anything the guest has to say today, then please have a look in the description for the links. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode.